It's a beautiful day out here. Too nice not to be fishing, so we're going to go out and give it a shot and see what we can get into. Come on along, and the hope is that I get a few more to throw on the smoker this afternoon. So come on along with me and see what we can get into. GVS Outdoors. All right, folks, here we are. Again, it is just too pretty not to be out here fishing today. I think it's supposed to be up in the 60s today. A little chilly right now. We had a cold night, but I think that was the last of the cold nights for a while. And I'm gonna get down here. One of the things I like to do, again, this is stocked water and it's right in town. Anybody can fish it anytime they want, but most people fish it right from the easiest access point. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go across the river here to the other side. And I'm gonna go make some casts up into this pool, and then I'm gonna work my way downriver. That's gonna be my plan anyway. Let's see how she goes. Well, it's been pretty quiet so far. A couple of guys fishing up at the other end of this hole here. It's just such a nice hole. You usually come up with something out of here. So I just try to cover a bunch of water and kind of drift it a bunch of different ways. If what I'm doing doesn't work, I'll switch up the drift a little bit and try to hang it and let it float in the current a little. Sometimes I'll pull it straight downstream. The water's come down a little bit from what it was. We haven't had any rain in it, I don't know, couple of weeks here, I guess. It was pretty high for a while, and it's kind of back to a normal level now. We'll turn something up before it's over here. Now we're into one here. It took a while, but I lost two of them before I managed to get one this far. Looks like a pretty decent rainbow. Yeah, pretty fish anyway. Yeah, that's what we like to see. I knew there was one laid up in there. First time I ever fished one of these. It was on one of those little trout magnet jigs. Well, I take that back. I think I fished them before for crappie. Just a little bitty finesse jig, kind of. I think I tried that once. We're going to try the old timers metal stringer. I actually never owned one of these, but I got sick of having to unthread every single fish that I caught to get the next one on the stringer, so yeah, not a bad rainbow. And the only trick to these things is to make sure you really have them attached when you think you do. I'm famous for that. Okay. We're just a little bit further down the river, and all I was doing there was I put a little weight on that trout magnet, because this is a pretty stiff current right here in this hole. And all I was doing was bouncing it off the bottom slow. I threw it up into the head of the pool there and just let it sink and try to keep up with it till you touch bottom, and then from there just kind of hopping it off the bottom. If you can keep it down in the current in a situation like this, you're doing what you need to do. If you're not right on the bottom, it's probably okay, as long as it's not getting pushed right up out of the way. It's a good sign when you're tapping the bottom. You should feel that now and again. And you should get hung up now and again too. And you will, like I just did. These are nice little, this one's a chartreuse in black. They're a nice little springtime grub looking thing. I had a feeling that might be a good combination. There's actually some hatch coming off today. I thought about busting the fly rod out in a little bit. And I may do that. I don't know how long I'm gonna fish. It's my older daughter's birthday today, so I think what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go back this afternoon and throw some bear steaks on the smoker. Oh, there was a hit. The only problem is I've been used to fishing the trout with those spinners that have that little stinger hook on them. And I've got a little bit lazy on my hook sets. I'll admit it. Because you don't have to do too much to hook one with those things. That's part of the reason I like them, because if they bite you right in the current, which they're gonna do, and you don't pick up on it right away, they're probably gonna hook themselves. But you do have to remember just to give them a good tug once you get them, you know, once you feel the weight of the fish on there. And sometimes I'm lazy about doing that. That's why I lost those first two this morning, because I got a little bit lazy and was dependent on that little stinger hook. You can't do that. Let that be a lesson to you. Gear is never an excuse for technique. Not ever. Don't fall into the trap of thinking with your hunting and your fishing, well, if I just had this gadget or that gadget or this lure or this rod or this gun. I can't tell you how many people, when I post a video of deer hunting or bear hunting or grouse hunting or any of the hunting I do, I can't tell you how many people are like, what kind of gun is that? Is that a good caliber? What caliber should I be using? It doesn't matter. I'll be perfectly honest with you. That's much less important than making a good shot and getting somewhere where there is game. I think a lot of guys want to blame the fact that they weren't successful with hunting or fishing on the fact that they didn't have some sort of more expensive or more complicated gear. It really doesn't make that much difference. I was talking about this earlier a little bit, but just to reiterate, if you've the whole game with this type of fishing is covering water. And like when you're breaking down a little run or a pool or whatever, you want to kind of attack all the water and all the structure there. So in other words, don't just go for the head of the pool where it's the deepest. Don't just go for the tail of the pool where it's the thinnest. You want to make sure that you're pulling something through there and you're covering it. And if something you're doing doesn't work, I probably didn't catch this in the last trout fishing video I did, but if something you're doing doesn't work, attack it from a different angle. Like this is the same pool I was just fishing, and I'm just going to dead drift it right downstream and bounce it off the bottom. That's not how I caught the first one, but that's the only one that I caught in here. I had one hit. See, there it is. That's exactly what I'm talking about right there. This isn't a trout though, it's a chub. That's exactly what I'm talking about though. If whatever you've been doing doesn't quite pan out, attack it from a little different angle, little different drift, little different something. Don't be afraid of that. Go, there's another one. I knew there'd be one in here sooner or later in this little run. I haven't caught any for quite a while in here. That's a brookie too, nice one. Yep. Nice male too. Nice pretty colors on him. Orange belly and these little dots. Man, they're a pretty fish. Easily my favorite. When I was a kid, that's part of the fun of those to me. When I was a kid, that was the first, I don't know, I guess you'd say adventure type fishing that we ever did. My father worked with a bunch of guys that were fishermen, and one of them talked him into going to the Salmon River in Pulaski, New York. See, I live in the South now. We would call that Pulaski, but Pulaski, New York, they catch a lot of salmon and steelhead and everything. It's a tributary of the lake, and so we made a drive out there, and the guy knew some old beaver ponds and such like that, and we went up for a day and caught piles of little bitty brook trout. 6-inch I think was legal, and you know, we probably didn't catch anything over 8 inches, but I think we each caught a limit, and that was kind of my first. I was pretty young, and I was probably more trouble than, well, not probably, I was definitely more trouble than I was worth. But my father took me, and from then on we started trying to catch brook trout. There's another one. Good. Yep, we started trying to catch them where and when we could, and we would go up to the Adirondacks, and anywhere where there was a little trout stream, we'd explore it if we had the time, or I'd shame him into it, is more like it. Man, lucky to get this one. But so anyway, Dad, if you're watching this, thanks for putting up with me and for taking me, and you're a more patient man than I am, no question, but I do appreciate it. Shout out to all the dads that do stuff that matter with kids. Stuff that matters. Also, I know I always say stuff like this, but if you know a kid whose dad doesn't fish and you can talk him into it, take both the dad and the kid, and if the dad won't, see if you can get permission to take the kid. It's worth it. Part of the reason kids have all the issues that they have today is because they just don't get to do stuff, and I think that's a darn shame. It hadn't ought to be. Hunting, fishing in the outdoors is something that ought to be enjoyed by everybody, and not knowing about it shouldn't be your excuse. I think there's a lot of outdoorsmen that love to share what they know and pass it along, and I think it's kind of our responsibility, so I always tell you that, but take it to heart. Take somebody fishing, especially take a kid fishing. This is such a pretty little run of creek, and again, I know I keep saying stuff like this, but you know, this is right in the city limits. It's 10 minutes from my house. I can be down and in the water, like literally in 15 minutes, and you know, Virginia is an awesome place to live, and I'm blessed to be here, and I love Virginia. But every state that I've been in has some form of this, and generally it's not too far from city limits. So even if you don't live out in the sticks, you know, you can get out and you can catch some stock trout. You can smoke some stock trout. If you don't know how to do that, check out my last video for the premier way to prepare trout. My favorite way anyway. But there's not a bad way to cook these things. You throw them in a pan with some butter and fry them and they're just as good. Well, no, they're not just as good, but they're good. So, again, you know, I'm encouraging you. Turn off the YouTube and, hey, I'm grateful for you. I'm glad you're watching, but there comes a time when the YouTube videos ain't gonna do it anymore. And you just need to get out and catch you a few fish. And if you have the ability to do it, you should do it. Not everybody does. So, for anybody who doesn't have the ability to get out, or the mobility, or whatever it is, that's part of the reason I do this too. I like to bring folks along with me, and I can't always bring you in person, but you can always watch these videos. They're may be a little boring, but the beauty of that is, if you're not really with me and if you're watching the video, you can just fast forward me or mute me. What do we got here? That's another rainbow. Man, I don't know. There's one hatchery that when they stock the rainbows from there, for whatever reason, they like to jump. And they're different colored too. You can tell that. I like these trout magnets. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Just a little split tail grub. Nice thing is they come with the little gold or silver or black jig heads. So I put the gold one on for a little bit of flash. I think I've caught 4 fish on them now. And the nice thing is, if you lose one, oh well. You're not talking about a $3 or $4 spinner. The Joe's flies that I use, I like those too. And if the water's off color, I think that's definitely superior. But I do think it's a little harder to get a drift with them if you're fishing in current. Or at least you got to figure out what they're wanting based on where they're laying in the seam of the current, you know. These I think are a little easier to fish. You just dead drift them down. Shoot. That was a good hit I just missed. In the slower water, I didn't put any weight on here. I just let it slow fall and hit the bottom. There's one. Easy. Let's have a look here. Yep. Nice. It's a little skinnier fish, but hey, we'll take it. Oh, there was another hit. Try that again. I know there's a few in here. There's one spot in there. Every time I get it just right in the current, I get a hit through there. That's probably close. There we go. There's my limit right there. If I can land him. Oh, and I didn't. Oh, you're kidding me. That was another one of those lazy hook sets, folks. Don't do that. I already talked about that too. And the next cast. I didn't botch this hook set. Right in the corner of the mouth, good hard. Oh, he ain't wore out yet. And that's my limit. Let's have a look here. I'll get in a little shallower and there they are. A Virginia limit. 4 brooks. All right. Nope, 3 brooks, 3 rainbows. All right, folks. Hey, thanks for watching GVS Outdoors here. That's going to do it for today. Good fishing trip with a quick Virginia limit there. Again, hey, stay tuned. We're going to be doing more stuff. We're right about at 300 subscribers here, and kind of the next milestone is going to be 5. So what I want to do is I'm not really going to change a whole lot on the channel. I'm not trying to be a social media influencer or anything else. I'm trying to do what I do and kind of share with you some of my hunting and fishing in time in the outdoors, and how you can do it, because a lot of people just don't know that, and I want to share that and do it in a way that people feel like, hey, maybe that's something I could try. If you got questions or comments, drop a comment below. I always like to hear from folks, and I try to respond to every single one of them. So stay tuned, and again, as we get closer to 500 subscribers, we're going to do something fun. We're going to do some giveaways or something like that, just as a token of appreciation. So I look forward to what's going to be coming. Crappie fishing is about to start up here. Turkey hunting is very close to starting up here, so I might get one crappie trip in, and I might do in the next 2 weeks here probably some turkey hunting. So stay with me, and we'll be looking forward to getting out there and to bringing you along with me. GVS Outdoors. We'll see you next time.